Breaking news tonight in Ferguson, where right now a manhunt is on for the gunman who shot two officers. This afternoon, SWAT teams surrounding a house in Ferguson. Police taking 3 people in for questioning, though no arrests have been made. The violence coming at midnight last night after the police chief resigned, when a mostly peaceful rally was interrupted by gunfire. Both officers were rushed to the hospital in serious condition, treated and released this morning. Now, the rush to find the shooter.
When this happened, when they heard the shots and when they heard the bullets singing past, that they saw muzzle flashes. But these muzzle flashes were probably about 125 yards away. This is the #1 priority right now of the St. Louis County Police Department, to identify these individuals. That individual are individuals who shot our police officers.
Today, condemnation from across the country. Attorney General Eric Holder saying his stomach churned when he heard the news, calling it an ambush. And President Obama saying, quote, "Violence against police is unacceptable. Our prayers are with the officers in Missouri. Path to justice is one all of us must travel together." And the parents of Michael Brown today denounced the shootings as senseless, saying it can't be tolerated. Tonight, law enforcement from Missouri State Highway Patrol and St. Louis County are taking over security from local police, from local Ferguson police. Let me be clear. This shooting was deplorable and reprehensible. Those of us who have been organizing in Ferguson are denouncing this. We don't know who did it or why, but we must come together, police and protesters, standing as one against this despicable violence. And that is how we can begin to heal and lead to a new day. Joining me live from Ferguson are MSNBC.com's Tremaine Lee, Brad Rayford, an eyewitness to the shooting, and Patricia Bynes, a Democratic committee woman for Ferguson Township. Thank you all 3 for being here. Tremaine, what are you hearing about this manhood? Are they close?
Chief John Belmer of the St. Louis County Police said that it is the county police department's #1 priority to catch the individual or individuals who fired those police officers. So here we are just hours away from nightfall, and everyone is bracing. I spoke to protesters who say they're tired and exhausted emotionally and physically. John Belmer said himself that they're going to go after these folks with full force. And so, as is typical in Ferguson, as night falls and protesters gather, so much is unknown. But again, protesters, the family of Michael Brown, organizers are all saying they're denouncing this violence. You mentioned the president, Eric Holder. Everyone has denounced this violence, but until those individuals are captured, the police department and the county police are on a mission to find those folks.
Committeewoman Bynes, people will gather for a candlelight vigil at the Ferguson police station tonight. What's the mood?
The mood is very somber because we don't know who did this, and we also aren't quite sure why someone would try to backtrack the progress that's being made when we have so many people, it seems, resigning and things are starting to move in the right direction where people are being held accountable for things. Something like this could very possibly deter and take us off course.
And this is something I've been saying, Committeewoman. This hurts those of us that have wanted to see progress toward some kind of police reform. It certainly doesn't help. It hurts the cause.
It most certainly does. Actually, there were many people involved in the protest that were very scared. The shots, many of them said the shots came from behind them, and they were very, very scared about what happened.
Brad, you were an eyewitness to the shooting. Tell me what you saw.
Well, I saw, along with the other fellow journalists right next to me, the muzzle fire from the guns up the hill on Tiffin Avenue, as well as the officer on the ground who was wounded by the gunshots.
Now, Brad, reportedly the shots didn't come from the protesters in front of the police station where the officers were struck, but instead from across the street. I heard the police chief saying that it was many yards away, more than a football field away, by someone armed with a handgun. So, Brad, the protesters were actually in the line of fire, weren't they?
We all were in the line of fire. It's no telling who were they aiming towards, and who the bullets really don't have a name for them. They can hit anybody, and so it's only a matter of time. I'm glad no one got hurt last night, but the officers, besides the officers, but it could have been anybody that were hit by the bullets last night.
What was the mood after the 3 shots rang out? What was the mood there like then?
After the shots rang out, the crowd pretty much dispersed, all of them, except for around 25 who couldn't leave because their cars were parked, which would now became a crime scene, so they couldn't go anywhere until the police released them from their cars. It was very somber, as Patricia said. The officers were obviously in distress and wondering what can they do to help out their injured officers, fellow injured officers that they were hit by the gunfire. It was definitely a scene that I won't forget for a long time.
Brad, let me ask you something straight up. You've been out there, you've been active. I've been in and out. Certainly Patricia's been there night and day. Have you heard anyone act as though that this is any way, shape, or form something that they condone or celebrate?
Not at all. I talked to a lot of the remaining protesters of last night, and they wanted to emphasize the fact that they want people to know that this was not a protester-sponsored shooting. I mean, it's sad you got to say that, but they wanted people to know that this is a person or persons that wants to cause harm towards officers or people. No, tell them who were the target of the bullets, but they wanted to cause harm towards those folks. And they were able to do that last night. And protesters want people to know that they were not involved in any way, shape, or form.
Give the people around the country, Brad, an idea of what the protests have been like. What is the normal protest like?
A normal protest is like, if you watch the live stream, the protesters come, they gather, they plan what they want to do. They most likely will block the street. The officers will come and tell them to get off the street. They move to the sidewalk. It's kind of like a back and forth all night type of deal, and at the end of the night, pretty much everyone just goes home.
But
no
there's
major
no violence. There's
often.
nothing of confrontation in terms of violence with police.
Well, certainly no. Of course, I mean, if you consider a confrontation or a person getting arrested, but that's pretty much the gist of the confrontation that the folks have with the police department. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I witnessed the past 7 months.
Committeewoman, as I mentioned tonight, law enforcement from Missouri State Highway Patrol and the St. Louis County are taking over security from local Ferguson police. This is after the Justice Department report. What are you expecting, Committeewoman?
Well, I'm kind of glad that they've done that. I think that the officers from the Ferguson Police Department are going to be quite anxious and scared after last night's activity. So I can certainly see why we have the need for St. Louis County and the state troopers to come and step in. And I'm sure that they're going to be anxious and bracing for what happens. But at least it won't be the Ferguson Police Department under this constant pressure to command the protest tonight.
Tremaine, you've been in there since this happened, covering this on the ground. I tease you that anytime I've gone in and out, I've almost seen you. I thought you moved. What have you seen today? Any shift in the mood? What are you sensing on the ground? Is there a shift in all the time you've been there in the mood on the ground there? You know a lot of people there now.
You know, that's right. You know, it's always tricky, and everything tends to be delicate at best here in Ferguson anyway. And so when you talk to those organizers and protesters, they're trying to figure out how to pivot, not just from this shooting last night, but the broader moment with the release of the DOJ's report last week that validated what so many in this community had said, that they were, the police targeted black folks, poor black folks, to buoy the city's budget, that they were indiscriminately arrested and targeted with exorbitant fines and fees. They're still reeling from that report, which also validated their claims, but also they're still waiting for the next hammer to drop. for some involvement maybe by the federal government, perhaps a consent decree. And so with all that going on, last night's shooting threw everything into even greater chaos. When you talk to folks who were on the ground last night, they said it almost felt like August all over again. There were so many people, the officers lined up with their riot gear and their shields, protesters on edge, and then the shooting, and now the fallout, and now another night of preparation as night begins to fall. So the mood here is folks are tired.
We're watching. We saw some live tape of their moving barricades around for the night. Let me go back to you a minute,
right.
Patricia. What is your constituents? What do they want to see next? Isn't there an election coming up with the mayor shortly? I mean, are there any preparations for political mobilization? What's next in terms of organizing on the ground?
Well, as a matter of fact, tonight there is a candidates forum for wards 2 and 3. Wards 2 is where the police department is, and Ward 3 is where Canfield is. So even tonight there's a candidate forum that's been scheduled to take place here in Ferguson, and I'm sure that there are going to be even more questions for the candidates on how they feel about what happened last night and what they think are some good ideas to start trying to repair the relationship between the police and this community.
Now,
but
the election is when? When is the election, and is the mayor on the ballot?
The mayor is not on the ballot. There are 3 city council seats up, 1 in each ward, and the election is April 7th.
All right, now let me show you this to you, Patricia, Brad, and Tremaine. Eric Holder, the Attorney General, let me show you what he said.
I stand ready to offer the full investigative resources of the United States Department of Justice, the FBI, to solve this crime. What happened last night was a pure ambush. This was not someone trying to bring healing to Ferguson. This was a damn punk, who was trying to sow discord in an area that is trying to get its act together and trying to bring together a community that has been fractured for too long.
No, it is no doubt it's deplorable, it's reprehensible, and I'll be talking about it more in the show, but I think that we cannot in any way, shape, or form rush to conclusions. Everyone is calling for the apprehension of whoever is responsible for this, and we should not blame anyone until we know exactly what happens. Brad, what is it that the protesters, beyond wanting to see this person captured, what is it that you want to see happen now in terms of the reform of policing in Ferguson?
Talking to some of the protesters, they want a top-down overhaul of the Ferguson administration completely. They want the City Hall mayor to step down, the whole City Hall administration to step down and can start fresh and new, to start a new start for the Ferguson city community as a whole, so we can move past and move forward for a better future.
And that's what they're going to keep fighting toward, Patricia, including these 3 council seats that are up in less than a month.
Absolutely. I mean, Ferguson is a strong community, and it's going to move forward regardless because of the people. We are fighting for the direction of the city. That's what the fight is about. The city needs to move in the right direction. We need a culture change in the city government, in the police department, and in the municipal courts.
Well, Tremaine Lee and Brad Rayford and Patricia Bynes, I want to thank you all for your time tonight. And I agree the city needs to move forward. They need to move forward together. And whoever did this horrendous act certainly is trying to move the city back. They have, in many ways, harmed all sides in something that must come together and move toward progress.